Welcome to Metrics, the largest hub of commerce on Wraith, where mechanologists, alchemists, inventors and biomancers all contribute to the sparky atmosphere of constant scientific progress. In this sprawling steampunk metropolis, a small independent radio station has managed to stay free of Vox influence, a shady corporation controlling most media. Usually run by a single operator known as Gambit, the Foundry now gave place for flesh and blood content creators to broadcast a weekly podcast. Welcome to the Foundry Hub. Hello everyone and welcome back at the Foundry Hub, our weekly Flesh and Blood podcast. I am super excited of all the new information that we are getting about the new set Monarch, which is coming out in about 3 weeks. And I cannot process all the information. But before we start talking about that, make sure you go and check out the Midtown Merchant, which has a great shop, and it's also the feeling of the shop is inspired to Matrix, that city we are in with this podcast, because the Foundry is the radio station in Matrix. That's like the secret broadcast against the corporation there. So it's very cool, and I'm really happy to collaborate with the Midtown Merchant. You get a 10% discount code, and you'll find it in the description below. But without further ado, here tonight with us, or today, depending when you're listening to this, we have Tap from Brew Tapcast. And before, talking myself about him, I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, so I am Tap. We have a channel called Brew Tapcast. It's kind of a flesh and blood / magic channel that we have a beer theme on it. So I was started by myself and another person who work in the brewing industry, and so we just sort of take these games because we love them so much, and we sort of put a beer spin on them. So lately we've been really just focused on flesh and blood because it's been really exciting and a breath of fresh air compared to Magic. So that's kind of what we're doing exclusively now. So that and Paper Commander. But super excited about all these spoilers. It's looking really exciting. The game is going to totally get shaken up, and I'm pumped to talk about these spoilers.
Yeah, man, it's I'm super ready. But before we get to that, I have a question for you. Would you use a Fable card to put your beer on?
No, I would not. I would definitely use a coaster. That seems like a terrible idea. Not do that.
Just messing with you. Everyone, go subscribe on Brew Tapcast. Great channel, great creator. You'll be happy about that. Now, this week, we already had a lot of information. So, we started having some light and darkness cards at the very beginning. And, you can go check out my first video about it. Yeah, I'll put a link up here. And that was the first info that, we knew that there was the darkness against light theme. But then as we proceeded into the week, we saw that this week it was all about darkness. And I'm super happy because I love the shadow theme. And, I really look forward playing with the 2 new heroes that were presented this week. And this is what we are talking about today. And next week we will probably be talking about the light heroes if they will be spoiled on time. And what I have to say before starting to talk about Levia and Chain is that the really cool info that we got is that we have a very, very new mechanics that it's the talents. And that means that every hero not only will have a class, but they will also have talents. They revealed it in an article. And basically this works that depending on where the hero and a certain class come from in the lore of Flesh and Blood, they will have a different talent associated. So for example, Levia, it's a brute that comes from the monastery, and that means that it's a shadow brute, as well as Chain, which is a rune blade, which is coming also from the monastery, and it is a shadow rune blade, which is crazy because it means that in the following months, years, we'll still see more and more talents, which open up for a world of possibility. What's your take on this new concept that was introduced?
I think it's actually really cool, and I hadn't really thought about how or if it would even happen because you think like, all right, well these classes are pretty well sort of stationed in their areas, like in Wraith, and you didn't really think about them crossing through borders, but that's really just not realistic. You're gonna have mixing and moving around, and I think it's a really cool design space to manipulate and look through because it's basically like blending different parts of the world together to really fully experience the world because that's likely what it actually would be like if that was a real actual biological place. So I think it's really cool. It gives us tweaks and we can still see, we'll get to this later. We still see like the base brute in Levia or Levia, even though she's a shadow one. So they all have this sort of common sort of core of abilities and ideas that make them them, but then you just sort of tweak it one way or another way depending on where you go. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it blew my mind when I saw that. When I was reading the article, it was like, oh man, I thought the game couldn't get any better, but oh man, that's going to be such a fun ride to see
Yeah.
how the game develops. As you said, they created a great design space for all of these cool heroes, and I'm just speechless. You know, the arts are amazing. The concept, the gameplay mechanics looks very just amazing to play because but that's I am biased. I love the banished graveyard, the blood depth kind of thing where you pay with
Yeah.
your life for extra power. I just love that kind of mechanics. And
Yeah.
talking
I,
about that,
I think it's
Levia.
really cool actually like the way that like it makes it so that everyone can find their hero because like maybe people like the brute but all right, well I don't really want to be like a bashing and ripping apart people blood brute like a shadow brute might be, but I want to be a light brute. I'm not really sure how they'll spin that, but it definitely gives a niche for everyone to sort of have their own brute of their own style. And I think that's a really cool way because you just like infinitely made so many more different classes that you can have with just the same classes that we have now. So even if we don't get any new ones in the future, we sort of have something for everyone.
Yes, that's very true. Although I have to say that I am a brute player. I play KO, and I'm sure that's a great deck. Super fun to play, especially when you only roll sixes and fives. But when I saw Levy, I was like, oh man, I need to play. I need to play the Shadow Brute. It just looks so good. And the card, for those of you that don't know, it comes with a very nice art. I just If you didn't watch it yet, just go look it out. It's just amazing. It's just I love the art
Definitely.
and the story. Just read the lore of Levia. It's just super cool. And the effect of the hero is that if a card with 6 or more attack has been put into your banished zone this turn, cards you own lose blood tap during the end phase. Blood tap is a new keyword that means that if that card, which has blood depth, is in the exiled zone, in the banished zone, at the end of your turn you lose 1 life. But those cards are usually quite powerful and you can play them from the banished zone. So it's very interesting because like it extends your hand by making you lose life every turn. But if you use Levia, then you can skip that bad part and have just crazy tune. Oh, that's my feeling. How do you see this gameplay coming?
Yeah, no, I exactly that. I think it really you no longer are going to rely on your hand to actually play cards from. It's going to be more of a resource area. So you're going to be pitching from your hand and playing from your banished zone. And there's a lot of ways to sort of cycle from your banished zone into your graveyard and then from your hand to your banished zone. So like there's this big circle of different connecting pathways that can move cards around and give you a whole bunch of card advantage. I really think that Levia is a more not so aggressive. It's more like a mid range or control because you can shut off that blood debt. I think that when we first started seeing these cards get spoiled, it's like cool, blood debt's really neat looking, but I feel like you're just gonna die. Um,
Yes.
but like because she's a brute, she's got that 6 power thing, and like some of the weapons we've seen like really work with her to like boom, we're gonna play 6 power or more attack cards. We're gonna be able to get them in the banish zone, and then we're gonna lose that blood debt. And I think that's what really makes it tick. And if you can't reliably do that, the deck's just gonna fall apart. But I think again, inherently, that's what brute wants to do, and it's built to do that.
Yeah, you're totally correct. I was wondering if it works with Massacre, because Massacre, when you discard it, makes you banish card from the top of your deck until you banish a card with 6 or more attack. And
Mm.
I wonder if that triggers Levia, because that means that Massacre is just just OP in this deck. And Doomsday, it's a legendary Levia specialization card that was spoiled before the heroes. The first hint towards the heroes that we got were two spoiled cards that had legendary Levia or chain specialization. And the card I'm talking about is Doomsday, which costs 0, pitches for 3, which is just crazy. And it's a shadow. It's a shadow instant. And you can only play if there are 6 or more cards with blood tapped in your banishment, which means you'll be like walking on a very thin line there. And you will create a Blasphemet, the Soul Harvester token, which we don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's going to be big. I'm sure whatever it is going to be spoiled very late because they want to keep it all scary for the end.
So what do you think that's gonna be? I mean, is it going to be people said it's a demon. In the lore, it's a demon, but I still think it's a weapon. I don't know why. I think it's a weapon.
No, I think that's both of those are true. I mean, we've seen new things in this so far. We've seen like we've seen talents, we've seen new mechanics, we've seen like spell void, blood death, stuff like that. So there's definitely new space that we just haven't seen, and that it might be hard to predict. I mean, we even have cards that have like asterisks, like for values that are going to change depending on when you play them. So I think this could be both a demon and a weapon. Like it's a token that maybe it doesn't literally replace your weapon, but it comes down and it has some sort of way to deal damage or have this big effect that is essentially like an aura or like a weapon, and that maybe it's probably going to be repeated because you can only have one of these Doomsdays in your deck. There's probably some big thing effect that comes down with it, and then maybe it doesn't get removed after a turn, maybe it does, maybe your opponent can, like, I don't know, battle that particular thing. I'm not really sure. Like if you think about Magic with Planeswalkers, you have your life total, your Planeswalker has their loyalty total. Maybe this is a similar sort of thing where like someone can choose to attack a hero or they can attack this Blasphemat if it's like this separate entity. I'm not really sure. We haven't seen any card language yet from the set that talks about being able to attack something other than your hero. So I don't really know.
I just got a crazy idea. I don't know, it's probably wrong, but imagine it's actually something like you said, a planeswalker, something like a token that's with his own life that is super strong, but it makes you lose the Levia effect, so that basically you have blood depth and you cannot get rid of that, and you have a super powerful thing, which is a demon that you like summon with you paying with your life for it, and unless you close the game fast, then you're just gonna die. But
yeah, I could totally see that. And like maybe like because we've seen with the light cards, you see things like cards go under your hero in their soul. Maybe this demon's going to go on top of your hero and it'll sort of take the place, and as you said, have a different effect. And yes, the blood debt's not going to get shut off, so you're going to be like hurting a lot, but maybe you just gain this ridiculous power for like your sort of quote unquote new hero.
Nice. I can't wait for that. And another hero that will be able to summon such a mysterious token, which we don't know yet, is Chain, the second hero that was spoiled this week. So it's just like we know half of the heroes that were spoiled, and I think this is by far the best art on an hero that was published up to now. Chain, bound by shadows. Adult hero, it's just the craziest art I've seen. I want to see that in rainbow foil. I want to see that in cold foil. It's just crazy looking.
Yeah, no, that's it's like the coolest like interdimensional art. Like you have this big thing above him, you have this neat like, you know, literally interplanetary sort of like just reaching through the abyss and like grabbing something out. So super cool.
Yeah, and it sounds very sweet to play. So for those of you that didn't see it yet, and if you didn't, just go check it out. Just look, Google Chain Bound by Shadow, and just just look at the card. So once per turn action, create a Soul Shackle token, and your next Runeblade or Shadow action gains Go Again. So basically, this allows you once per turn to give something that does not have Go Again at the price of a Soul Shackle. And in the design of this hero, these are the Runeblade token that were like given to this hero. As Viserai has Rune Chance, this hero has Soul Shackle, and it's a card that at the beginning of your action phase make you banish the top card of your deck, which can be very powerful because it means that the more Soul Shackle you have, the faster you get cards in your banished zone, the faster you get access to blood tapped cards, and that can mean that you can go for very, very large turn very quickly. But then if you do not close the game, you are in trouble because you're going to end your deck. So it's still again this feeling of you can get extra power at the cost of a risky game, which is, I just love it. Like I love KO, where you roll die and you can get that extra super powerful thing at the cost of risking to lose your turn or your attack. I love this idea in the game.
Yeah, and with no way to sort of shut that off, this is, as you said, you really got to go fast with this. I think when we're talking about Levia, that one you can sort of put off the blood debt problems. Shane, I don't know if it's actually Chain or Shane. I think I was saying Chain. Now I'm looking at it, maybe it's Shane, but
No idea.
you can't turn it off. And then like you get a couple of these soul shackles out, you're losing, you know, a large portion of your great or your library every turn. And there's no way to turn off the blood debt. So he plays blood debt cards, so you're going to be losing life that way. So it's really this, you got to go fast, and that's what the Soul Shackle does. Giving things go again. You know, traditionally Runeblade does two things a turn. It has the non-attack action, it has the attack action, and that's like sort of the thing that makes Runeblade. But now we can do your non-attack action, attack action, and maybe another attack action. So it's really quite a neat sort of balance of just like literally giving yourself essentially one more action point and a large amount of card advantage from your banish zone to really try to go fast compared to what Viserai was doing. So I think it's a really cool take on what was sort of like, there wasn't really an aggro Viserai deck, but this looks like this is going to be a very aggro Runeblade. So.
I totally agree, especially because the Shadow instant that was spoilered, Eclipse for 0 pitch 3, Legendary Chain Specialization, you can play only if you have played 6 or more cards with Blood Up this turn, and if you have, you can play it from the Banish Zone. So it really feels like that, you know, what you want to do with this deck is to exile very fast a lot of cards, create a lot of soul shackles by putting pressure on your opponents by doing that, and then you can play Eclipse that creates our Urser, the Soul Reaper token, which we have no idea what it is, and that should possibly close the game. I think that's the plan. I don't know, but sounds,
yeah, I mean,
like
maybe
that.
it's like a you just have to hit your opponent once after that or something like that, and then like they literally die with the whole like Soul Reaper thing. Who knows? It's got to be big and it's got to be splashy. So
I totally agree, man. Wow, I cannot wait to get to the pre-release and play with the cards. Actually, I'm really hyped. I really look forward, you know, then the rest of the spoiler season to see what the next hero are, how these light heroes will be, how they will play together. And I find that what LSS is doing is just amazing. They have created a great design space. They have created a great set and a great game that seems like it's only improving. And wow, I'm just amazed. I'm sure that you also look forward to that, don't you?
oh yeah, no, it's gonna be great. I mean, we're already like my head's already spinning with all the different new stuff we're getting, and it's just half of the sort of mechanics of the set that we just have a lot of shadow cards. We got a couple generics, but yeah, no, I'm excited to see what they'll do for the light and how different and how much of a surprise we'll have when we start seeing those things fly.
Man, I can't wait. Honestly, it's just I don't know if I can survive the wait until the end of the month. Meanwhile, thank you very much for being here with us tonight or today, again, depending on the perspective of the listener. And I hope you enjoyed the stay. I hope to see you back on the channel, and I hope that we can grow together fast and get to more and more people so that we can share these amazing times we're having together.
100%, man. I really appreciate it, and really glad for the opportunity to come on.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. Everyone, go subscribe on Brewtapcast, and you'll be happy. And maybe if you're in the area, just go grab a beer from them, because I'm sure it's great. Just think of Cokes of Commotion and drink a beer to their to their brewery.
Yeah, crazy brew.
Okay, everyone, thank you very much for listening. I'll see you again next week with the next episode of the Foundry Hub. I really can't wait for those light spoilers. It's just, man, it's going to be a great ride. I hope that you'll be here next week as well to enjoy this together, and see you all for the next videos.
Yeah, thank you so much. Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen.